Welcome to the Tuesday Review live on 98.9 Northwest FM. I'm Nathan, as always, joined by Alan. How you going, Alan?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Joined by Callum. How you going, Callum?
Not bad.
And joined finally back from Europe by James. How you going, James?
Yay!
Speaking the vague European accent.
Oh, I'm back. Ba-ba-da-boopy.
Ba-ba-da-boop.
Ba-ba-da-boopy.
I'm trying.
Oh, no.
Ba-ba-da-boopy. All right, James is back from here. How was your trip, James? And welcome back.
It was good, yeah.
Too much sun?
I think a good amount. Considering I get no sun here, or because I don't leave the house, and because Melbourne weather is crap, I think it was a good amount of sun. It was very hot.
Because it's summer over there.
Yeah. But yeah, it was good. I had fun. I before I left, Callum was like, "Oh, you should take some photos of like any cinemas you see." So I've got some photos of that. Maybe we'll put that up on the social media at some point.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. And I also bought a lot of Blu-rays, which
Nice.
that was my main.
That's
I was like,
mission.
go
we have
see.
the same
Any
region
rare
for
ones?
Blu-rays as...
Yeah, Europe is B.
And
Yeah.
also, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Also, I have a
region
region
free.
free.
Yeah.
But I'd go see the Coliseum and be like, "Oh, that's nice," and I'm like, Google what's the closest like electronic
yeah.
store Blu-rays. Which
Any rare Blu-rays did you find?
I took some photos for you guys to see.
He's got the lovely When Harry Met Sally 4K.
Yeah, so for some reason, When Harry Met Sally has only been released on 4K in Germany.
Because of course.
So when I was in Germany, I found it. I went to. They have this big electronic store called Saturn.
The JB Hi-Fi.
The Videohausen, I think we call it one. And then they have like a spin-off of that, which is Media Market. So that's like their big electronic store, and they have lots of Blu-rays there. And I went to a few of those, and I found When Harry Met Sally on 4K there several times, but it was 33 euros,
which is expensive, yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to pay it because I'm
mate.
like, by the time I import it, like it's going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Also,
but
you're on holiday. Everyone knows money doesn't count when you're on holiday.
that's the thing. It's like it doesn't count, but also like it runs out really quickly. And I was kind of like, oh, I want to get it, and I was like umming and ahhing, but I got lucky. I found it at one of the stores, still brand new, but for 17 euros.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So I got really lucky that I sort of waited, and it's the media book too, which in Europe, in Germany especially, they have these hardcover 4K and Blu-ray releases called media books, where it's like a hardcover book where you open it up and it's got like little booklet inside, little photos.
It's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I got that.
There's a booklet in Deutsch.
It's all in German anyway.
That's right. But with the power of AI and phones and cameras.
yeah,
Also,
you can just put your phone over it.
Pretend to read it.
That's upside down. I'm like, yeah.
You look at the pretty pictures.
Before we get any further, I will just say the SMS system for those live listeners, however they may be, is now working again.
Yeah.
Feel free to text us in with our comments on our bad opinions at 044777799 and throw some shade.
Yeah.
If you do happen to be listening live.
I think you can text internationally. So it'd be the
That's
plus
it, that's
symbol.
it. We know we have some listeners.
Plus
Yeah.
61.
Plus 61.
Yeah.
We have some listeners at Quantico. Hit us up.
So,
There's some lowly CIA analysts going through our...
Apart from Harry Met Sally, what else did you find? Any rare finds?
I got the media book 4K of Night of the Hunter, which is one of my favorite movies, a black and white 1950s kind of film noir. It has been released in the US on 4K. I didn't get it, and I was like, it's kind of wanting to get it, but now it's been out for long. You know that weird period where it's been out long enough where it's not rare, but it's not easy and cheap to find.
Did it come with the Blu-ray as well, or just the 4K disc?
No, it's got both. Yeah.
Nice.
So the American one, obviously, I didn't end up getting, but I found the media book version, which has a nice hardcover. It has the German title, but it still looks nice. And then I got a whole bunch of Blu-rays. Probably the most
Interesting.
maybe like so. There were a lot more that I wanted to get, but obviously money and suitcase space.
Exactly. Storage.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah. So when I was looking around, I any time I buy Blu-rays, I think we've talked about this before on the show. As a collector, you want to get the best version. So there's websites like Blu-ray.com or DVD Compare where you can see which releases around the world have come out and which has like the most special features, which has the best transfer. And so even if a movie is readily available on Blu-ray in Australia, oftentimes I won't buy that edition because it's usually like a bare bones, no special features, kind of whatever. And, I'll import the UK or the US or the German release or something like that. So when I was in Germany, I was keeping an eye out for German releases of movies that might not be super rare or hard to find, but where the German release is the
Premium.
superior version with the most special features or the most like the cut. They sometimes have different cuts of the film, like director's cut and that.
Being tactical about it.
So I did go into like a secondhand like Blu-ray, DVDs, and record store CDs, and I got Death Sentence. Have you ever seen that with Kevin Bacon?
No.
It's a pretty good revenge movie that not a lot of people talk about anymore. That luckily, the German version is like the best release of that. It has like the unrated cut and it has special features. So luckily I got that. And I also got Viva Zapata, which is a Western with Anthony Quinn and Marlon Brando, which, again, the German release is the best version. And it's on Amazon. It's easy to get, but it's pretty expensive. So I've been like keeping an eye on it on Amazon, but I never ended up getting it, which is good because then I found it at like a secondhand store for a decent price, under €10. So
nice.
Yeah, and I got a whole bunch more, but I won't list them all.
That's great.
But yeah, it was a good, for someone like me who's a collector and imports stuff regularly. It's good. You don't have to worry about the Australia tax and the import fees and this, that, and the other.
You walked into like a movie store and they were like, "You're the James."
That's it. Oh, we need loyalty cards. Buy 10 Blu-rays, get the 11th free.
Well, I always used to say that at JB. If they had a loyalty program, I would like run the place. And then they released the JB Perks where I signed up for that, but it's not really the same as.
I would say it's all fun and games until James gets back to the airport and then they're like, Sir, why you have all these German released Blu-rays? Under copyright law, your machine shouldn't be able to play this.
Do you have any... This is how you deal with that. Do you have anything to declare? No.
Do they have the Blu-ray sniffer dogs now?
Oh, yeah.
That's it. And they're just like, these are German releases. Will your Blue's machine play them?
Yes,
it will. It's region B.
Man,
Blue Healers.
Please don't
Blue Healers, but without the E, so it's BLU.
Please don't give them any ideas. It's all fun and games. It's all fun and games until Sony's like, you know what? Not a bad idea.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, considering... I was actually thinking the other day about the guy who ran Pirate Bay. How they locked him up and threw away the key. And I maybe we'll look it up during the break. I think he's still in prison. They put him in like solitary, no TV, no radio, nothing. And meanwhile, that guy who shot up that island full of kids in Norway or wherever it was, he's in life prison. But like he's got TV, he's fine. Like it's crazy how much sway like corporations and studios have.
Not to get all political about it. But like you think about like the damage that he did, the guy who made the Pirate Bay.
Yeah.
Damage in quotation marks for the audience listening at home. The damage he did, which as far as I'm aware is completely non-violent in nature.
Oh, 100%.
And then you get the banks, and there are like certain banks in America and Combank, I'm pretty sure, have had ties to like cartels, like actually, and at least in America, actually being caught laundering blood money and this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then none of them, as far as I'm aware, they just get fined. And I'm like, so it's
and the fine is like nothing
compared to how much
if they even pay it. Yeah.
So it's like, it goes to show that it's like it depends on where you are in the wealth scale. Presumably, the gentleman who created the Pirate Bay was not a billionaire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm assuming that.
Yeah.
So it's like if you have a good enough lawyer, you can basically do anything you want.
100%.
And then to get even more political, sorry listeners. You get up to the government where it's like you can just have people killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about this if we end up doing our special on a late night special where you talk about all things crazy and out there. But Danny Sheehan did an interview where he talks about how Nixon apparently set up a death squad called the S-Force.
This was to deal with Cuba.
I wouldn't be surprised.
This was specifically to deal with Cuba.
But they
assassinate Castro.
But they persisted after Cuba, and the government continued to use them through multiple presidencies, just having an unofficial death squad go around and murder people. But under the new government laws, don't forget, James, a lot happened while you're in Europe. The president can do anything he wants as long as it's an official order.
No, that happened before I left. Yeah.
Oh, my mistake.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry for derailing the show.
Anyway, I mean, well, as someone who loves physical media and supports film,
Alan's over here struggling with those headphones.
Yeah, there is something wrong. Mine's playing up as well.
I get no audio. I'm relying on the actual main audio. But on the topic of what Callum said, it's the studios that are using their wealth to say, hey, I know this would normally just be like a couple of years in jail at best. No, send the man away, throw away the key.
Yeah.
So
make sure he gets the worst prison cellmate.
The government is owned by corporations.
As far as
it's crazy.
As far as I could see, the Pirate Bay guys got a year in jail each. As far as
he got out.
You look at
they all got out after a year.
You look at the Reddit guy.
One of them got into more trouble because he refused to pay the fine. And then that kind of was just like, well...
Maybe it was that... Oh, yeah, we'll look it up.
He escalated, but they only got like a year in jail. I think he might have done more time because he refused to pay the fine. But that's separate.
Well, I mean, you look at Aaron Swartz, it's a similar issue that one of the gentlemen who founded Reddit, he was going to go away for years because he gave away... he downloaded scholarly articles and he was going to give them away for free. And what he did wasn't that big of a crime.
That whole thing's a racket anyway.
Yeah, but he ended up taking his own life because of the pressure of it all.
Yeah, that's insane.
So it's like there's this idea about copyright. You know what I mean? Like the Pirate Bay, whether it's Aaron Swartz, it's this thing about how it's one thing to kill people because that's a number on a spreadsheet. It's another thing to steal media, which is a serious problem that affects all these big CEOs. And, Robert Downey Jr. is making $100 million playing Dr. Doom. And somebody think of the children.
Yeah.
I think we might also be thinking of the dude who... managed the Silk Road at the time when he was caught. He got sentenced.
I'm not defending. That's a different thing than just I have a peer-to-peer downloading site.
Oh, it was just a peer-to-peer business site. It's up to you.
I didn't actually put anything on there. It's up to you.
Well, the thing is,
that's true though.
Will a bank manager, not bank manager, but will any of the bank executives go to jail because their banks were being used to launder money, drug money, crime money? So that won't happen.
Exactly.
So
you say that the guy who runs Telegram got arrested in France, and they're saying that he's complicit in basically terrorism because terrorists use his platform, and all the free speech advocates, i.e. Elon Musk and Russia, are saying that, how dare you let him go? He's an innocent man.
I think the problem becomes... we'll use Telegram as an example. If it's really encrypted and even Telegram don't know what it's...
Oh, no, but that's the funny thing. Telegram, it's a misconception. It doesn't automatically encrypt your messages. Apparently, only a small fraction of people use the secret message feature.
The whole thing is, if I'm doing something very illegal, I'm probably going to know to make sure. If I'm like a sophisticated criminal... I'm going to make sure I hit that button that says, please encrypt my messages. And if Telegram don't have a way of viewing those messages, how are they meant to help law enforcement? So I haven't looked into this issue, but at the same time, it's like the Apple use. Apple can't help the feds because I don't know how to get into the phone.
But
Telegram's
I feel like, again, with corporations, do you think they really haven't been harvesting all that data?
Telegram's a bit different because apparently...
I don't trust the government. I don't trust the corporations.
Apparently he knew a little bit about what was going on. Yeah. And then he refused to
who I trust? The drug dealers. They will kill you if you don't pay.
At least you know where you stand.
Anyway, let's go. Let's move on with some movie conversation.
Anyway, what I was saying was that because we were saying I'll get done for bringing in Blu-rays. I'm buying them legally.
We was joking.
Yeah, and then we went on this tangent. And we're like, damn studios, they make it so hard for people who are trying to support them legally. And this happens every time we discuss this.
Now that James is back, it's just derailings all over.
Oh yeah, this is. I miss this. But yes, I didn't just buy Blu-rays. I went and saw lots of cool things and walked around and ate lots of food.
Yeah, so James went to Europe to buy Blu-rays. As a side effect of that, he was able to see some sights.
And I also saw,
And
you
eat some
know,
food.
the Pantheon and ate tiramisu. Lots of tiramisu.
Nice.
Nice.
For a man
Yeah.
that doesn't like coffee, you like tiramisu.
Yes, it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mind the smell and the flavor. I just don't like the hot drink coffee. It's
Okay,
weird.
So you don't like it in liquid form.
But I like iced coffee. I will have once in a very blue moon.
Okay.
So
So
I think it's
like the
hot.
rest
I don't like hot drinks.
so it's like the rest of the boys on hot booze. It's like you don't like
Well,
it.
hot booze is weird.
Yeah, I had it once at the night market. Not a good time.
Hot booze is
Yeah, unless you live in the end.
only like a cold European area.
Yeah, and even then it's kind of
Even then,
weird.
hot alcohol does not.
It's
I
just-
don't,
yeah.
it's not. It's not a thing.
It's your people that
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you can make like a chalky milk or something.
did
Or
your
Irish
dad
coffee.
ever drink hot?
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
And they drink warm beer, the Brits.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is
That's
his people.
different. That's just because, you know, don't have a refrigerator. No. It's just a preference. Like, you didn't make it cold. But it's not like a hot beer. I'd say the distinction
Oh,
between-
are you saying?
it's like room temperature beer is what we're saying.
Okay, so you're actually heating it up. is
No,
what
no,
you're
we're
saying.
talking about actual heated up like mulled wine.
Okay, that's
with
even
alcohol.
weirder.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
warm
yeah.
beer is just a desperate times call for desperate
Yeah,
measures.
yeah. And it's like, it's like cold outside. We're not gonna extra chill.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Deadpool 3.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, we'll keep it spoiler free only because it's a relatively recent film, and
I
also James
I
hasn't
haven't
seen
seen it. Yeah, I was.
Look,
But James, you might not have seen it, but you know it already.
yeah, I
you've
think I
seen
know
it,
what I'm gonna
James.
get.
You've seen it already.
Yeah.
You just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
I was disappointed because like Deadpool was always. I mean, it's still a superhero movie. Even the first two, they're just still superhero films, even if they are a little edgier. But this one, I think, is the most cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Now
I
it's
think
part of Marvel.
One-dimensional villain that kind of tries to become two-dimensional, but, you know, just stops there.
Yeah. I think so. Let's lay some groundwork. They moved it into Marvel, and you need to know Loki season 1
Yeah,
for the most part.
For the most part,
You
it's
need to know the TVA because that's roped into it somehow, and you need to know where, like, what is it? There's how they get pruned and shit. You need to have that kind of
yeah,
little
the
background.
timelines. Yeah.
Yeah. So you need to know that kind of basic groundwork for it, and then you don't really need to know much else.
Mm.
The problem is, as Callum said, it's essentially a standard Marvel film. It's better than most of the other Marvel movies,
Yeah, it is.
but it relies too much on breaking the fourth wall.
Well, that's Deadpool's thing.
I know, but do something different. We get it.
Yeah.
You're constantly breaking the fourth wall. At one point, it just detracts from the story,
Mm.
right? Because you're trying to tell a narrative, and you can't go 30 seconds without Ryan Reynolds facing the camera being like, I'm in a movie. I'm like,
Mm.
yes, we're all very impressed. Like, let's try and do something different.
Mm.
And even the multiverse aspect, you know, because it's the multiverse era, they have to have the multiverse and all the things. Even that is disappointing. It's the unoriginal. That's the way, like to me that sums up the film. It's just kind of unoriginal. Like when you have the multiverse, especially with a character like Deadpool, there are so many interesting things you could do with him and the multiverse Deadpools and the way he approaches the multiverse, being a wall breaking character. But again, it's just so boring. It's forgettable, and it's just like I said, it's disappointing.
The best thing about the movie is probably Hugh Jackman's performance.
Yeah, he's good.
He does really well. He's really good in this movie. Like, he gives
Well,
everything.
I'm assuming he's the straight man to Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. Which
Shout out
wasn't
to the
that
Calvary.
Deadpool 2 with Cable? Josh
Yeah.
Brolin was the tough straight
we
man.
forgot about Deadpool. So did the MCU.
Yeah. So essentially, you've got the straight man and
Yeah.
comedy guy. Like,
Calvary was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't spoil it for James.
Yeah, no spoiler. I mean, I've seen a lot of the
Probably the best character.
things
Yeah.
online.
But
Also, there's a small section where you can see some of the different Wolverines through like the Marvel history, and they do comic accurate Wolverine, which is hilarious.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
little teeny tiny
I've
Wolverine.
heard, I've heard that.
I'm sorry, I won't say anything else. I just
Yeah.
thought it was funny when you see the little teeny tiny Wolverine.
no, look, it is an entertaining watch on the big screen.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
ultimately, it suffers from the rest of the comic book problems.
Marvel. It's not immune to Marvel fatigue. Yeah.
No.
And especially because now they have to loop him in,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though technically he's kind of his own.
Yeah.
It's also strangely boring in the sense that, like I said, they've got this whole multiverse angle going on. And like when you actually when you've seen the film and you actually think about like the locations they visit and the things that they do, it's kind of limited lacking in
That seems to-
lacking in imagination to me.
That seems to be a problem with most of the
Latter MCU films.
yeah, and the Marvel multiverse stuff, like the
Yeah.
Doctor Strange thing.
Like
and,
when you think about earlier Marvel movies, I feel like they went to more places and they did interesting things.
they felt more like real movies.
That is
Yeah,
that
but maybe
is a
that's
problem.
rose tinted glasses as well.
Yeah.
That is a problem. There's like maybe 3 major locations in
Yeah.
this Deadpool movie, maybe, and it's just kind of like you
The
have the
only-
whole multiverse to explore, and you reference the fact that it's a multiverse, anything can happen, blah blah blah. I'm like,
Yeah.
and you only have these cast of characters, and you only go to these locations. It's a waste.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, even I mean, I know that this is a me thing. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I'm like, I think that they did it best. Where okay, maybe they didn't go to all these locations, but they were colorful and fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what I mean? Like, and James Gunn is just really good at what he does.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like that franchise, the Guardians franchise, is still holding Marvel up in that sense, where it's like these are what the good movies should be.
Well,
looking
those
like.
those were the exception to.
And like Deadpool had the opportunity to be one of those films where it's like, you know, especially now that the multiverse is bringing the sci-fi more to the franchise. It's not just Guardians, which is hard sci-fi. Now the multiverse can turn any franchise into hard sci-fi. But we're still hobbled by
I wouldn't really call it hard.
soft to medium sci-fi.
Soft, very soft.
But yeah, like I said, lacking in imagination. The choreography is sometimes good. There's a scene which everyone was raving about, and it's in the trailer. Like they try to do one of those action scenes where it goes from one
shot.
side, yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah.
like not a hallway fight, but you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah.
And like, you see it in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, but it's like it's Wolverine and Deadpool fighting like a whole bunch of alternate Deadpools and such. Again, it looks plastic, and it's also unoriginal. Like it looks it's boring to watch. It's not exciting to watch, and there's also no weight.
Whereas that hallway fight in Guardians 3 was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And like even when you're watching them attack each other, there's no weight. Like someone will get thrown, and it's like you can tell they're on a wire. It's like they just throw off into the distance. There's no impact. Which again, it's like they're afraid to get gritty with it.
I had that issue
It's-
with the Marvels too.
I haven't seen that yet. Yeah.
Well, again, like that, the conceit is good, right? It's like you've got these 3 different characters who change powers when they
change
like,
bodies.
change. Well, yeah, they
change position
change
in the
positions
universe.
when they activate their powers, and there's no weight to it.
Yeah. But that's a problem with, most superhero movies, especially the more recent ones. It's just they shoot it so quickly. It's all green screen, all CGI. You think of even like the first 2 X-Men movies back in the day. Like it felt like real movie, and the action scenes were real kind of action scenes. Whereas now it's Hugh Jackman standing in front of a green screen going like this.
Yeah.
I'm waving my arms around, pretending to have claws for the listeners.
Snick.
And his claws are CGI, and
yeah.
all the things flying at him are CGI, and it's just like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
back in the day, it used to be, you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing as everything else.
That's it.
Nice. But I think one of the reasons the first 2 Deadpool movies are so popular is because Ryan Reynolds. And I think a lot of the Marvel movies are popular is because of the comedy. So how would you rate Deadpool 3 or Deadpool and Wolverine as just the comedy aspect?
Look,
About the same.
I have to retract my previous statement about saying that Calorine was the best character. It goes to Channing Tatum's Gambit.
Oh yeah.
That
I'm
was
about to make a
best.
name for myself here.
Spoilers.
I know he's in it, and I've always hated the fact that he was going to play Gambit.
You
And
take
I-
that back, sir.
His
I-
accent is the worst.
I
That
think
it's meant to be. That.
and
Yes.
and the fact that it's like the funny like reference to that, I'm like, okay, fine. But now people are like, oh, maybe there's a chance he'll actually do
Could
it.
I just say,
and I'm
though,
just like, please no, please
the
God, no.
fact that they have like fan casting in the MCU multiverse
Yeah.
is fantastic. I love it so much.
Yeah,
But comedy-wise, like, it's just, like Nathan said, you're on your 3rd movie, the whole, breaking the fourth wall shtick. Yes, do it, but don't overdo it. It's getting tired.
It does. When it happens literally every 30 seconds, I'm like, all right, I get the joke. Try
Like
something.
Especially
when he
because
throws the
Meta-
whole Thanos thing or calls Dovinda Brown Panther and stuff like
Yeah.
great times. Now it's just like, yeah, come on.
especially because meta humor just in general has been really popular for the last 15 years,
Yeah.
and
And I'm like, my thing is like, Deadpool needs to go somewhere different. like, I know he's always going to have that meta humor angle, right? Because he's the character that knows he's in a comic book. He knows he's in a movie. But you need to have some character growth.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why, I mean, I haven't seen it. Well, I'm going to rewatch the first two before I see Deadpool and Wolverine. But I think I remember the first one, the action maybe wasn't so great. I remember it being very grey and kind of ugly looking.
Yeah.
But the reason it was so strong, one, because it was very funny, but two, because I remember kind of caring about the relationship with him and Vanessa, is that her name?
Yeah.
And like caring about like his journey, and like you kind of gave a shit about what was going on, even though it was silly.
I think that the relationship angle is still there in the new one, and that is the strongest part of the film. But like I said, when you have an idea that is kind of just so boring, and I don't usually feel the length of Marvel movies. I felt the length of this one. I was like, surely this is... And there's even a point in the film where he makes a joke, don't worry, you're up to the final act. So I think that that they know that the length on this one is felt more. And I think, again, that speaks to how this movie is the weakest of the three. Because I think, like, as much as I like Wolverine, we've seen Wolverine so much over the years.
That's what I was going to say.
If we look at Cable, for example, he was new, he was fresh to the audience, he was interesting... You know, and to the comic book nerds like us, it's like, that's Cable. We know the backstory. We know where this could be going.
Yeah.
Whereas Wolverine's been done over and over again. Not in the MCU.
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. Not in the
Wolverine,
MCU, sure. But we've seen him a million times.
Yeah.
And he had his end.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another thing.
This definitely felt gimmicky. Like, it's like, oh, now we've Disney has bought Sony and Fox. It's like now we have Deadpool and the rights to Wolverine as well, and it's like, okay, now how are we going to bring Deadpool into the MCU, still make him R-rated, gritty, crude and rude and whatever, and it's like, oh, and then put him in with Wolverine, and Hugh Jackman said he's retired but he'll come back for this, and it's like, it feels gimmicky a little bit.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
Which, I'm sure it's fun, but...
Yeah, like, it is fun, and, and Hugh Jackman is good in this.
Yeah, he's good actor.
I'm just... It has the same trappings as most Marvel films, and for me, constantly breaking the fourth wall got a bit grating by the end. Because I'm like, but let's actually care about the story, please.
Yeah.
Like, we get it. Ha. Like, but all right, move on.
I mean, I like Hugh Jackman, but I've been... For the last 15 plus years, I've been wanting them to reboot X-Men properly with a new Wolverine.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't look like
and this time it's going to be a proper 5'4" guy.
Danny DeVito.
I said 5'4", not fucking 4'11".
As awesome as X-Men 1 and 2 are, they really screwed up Cyclops. So I want a good Cyclops, and doesn't have to be tiny Wolverine, but like a more stocky, like...
Yeah. And like, he's such a cool... Cyclops
but,
is, ironically, he's such a cool character, but you wouldn't know
in
it.
In the movies, he
You
sucks.
wouldn't know it by watching the films.
Yeah.
Like, every now and again on Twitter, there'll be what's your favorite comic book panel? And then one of the more popular ones is one where the X-Men are being pummeled by a villain, by Sentinel, I think. And then Cyclops is like, we're running out of time. And he like takes his thing off, and then the one panel's just red.
Yeah.
And then the Sentinel's gone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, see, and then like that's the Cyclops from the comics. It's like, when the time's up, he just takes the visor off, problem solved.
Yeah.
The X-Men survive.
But he knows it's super dangerous, so it's like a last resort.
Yeah, and everyone's like taking cover because it's like a cataclysmic power.
Yeah.
But then you get him in the movies, and he's just kind of like this wiener.
Yeah. But that's also part of the special effects and the... It's not...
He's like, Professor, Wolverine's taking my girl.
Yeah, man. It's not fair. He's got a motorbike and everything. But it's not just how the character's written in that case. It's like also the action and the special effects. It's like in comic books, you turn a panel and it's like these guys find it's like, this is awesome. And then they do it in the movie and it's just CGI garbage. Or shaky cam garbage.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, this should have been...
Yeah.
And like early Marvel movies felt kind of like, oh, this is like the Avengers all fighting those aliens in the first Avengers movie. It's like, oh, this kind of feels...
Because there was a weight to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it feels like, oh, yeah, this is what reading the comic book was like. But now, by the time you get to now, it's just like, what is this garbage I'm looking at?
Yeah, 100%.
I can't even tell what I'm looking at half the time.
Also, another like gripe with this film. So, obviously, because of the merger and everything going down, Deadpool tries to, I guess, join the Avengers. It's not a spoiler because it's a pretty early point, but like the whole impetus of him trying to be an Avenger or any of that is so dumb when you consider the previous films. I'm just like, why? How's that like the base of where you're basing this off? Like, it doesn't make any sort of sense. It's a spoiler kind of thing. That's why we'll probably discuss it further when the film's been out for a little bit while.
Yeah, and after
you've seen it all.
Watch it, yeah.
But when you see it, I think you'll notice it too. Like, really, that's kind of where this is going to start from. Okay, like that's dumb. But
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to watch the first two first, because
Yeah.
then it'll be like, you'll be like, that's a dumb decision.
Yeah, especially because in 2 he like got his own team, and that seems like they've just forgotten.
What team?
Yeah.
Domino's still there, damn you, and then
Oh, Domino. Okay, that's
well,
cool.
she's not. Yeah, well, yeah.
No.
In number 2, she was.
Yeah. All right, look, we'll move on. We might start our MIFF coverage.
Yeah.
After this short break, we'll be right back after this. You're back on the Tuesday review. You right there, Alan? I'll give you the complicated headphones.
Yeah, no, they're working.
All right, all right. You are back. We're back on the Tuesday review. We're going to start our MIFF coverage.
Yeah.
I
And
guess
some
officially
context,
for the
some
first
context for this, which is kind of funny. James left in August, early August, to go to Europe and do European things.
Late July.
Late July.
Oh, late
yeah.
July, sorry, yeah.
Mm.
And so he was like, oh, I'm going to miss out on MIFF, Anyway, it turns out, because we've been very busy boys, we haven't really done anything MIFF related. So,
We've done things MIFF adjacent.
MIFF adjacent, but not directly MIFF
Yeah, I missed
related.
out on all the other cool
Yeah.
things you guys did.
Yes, and we
And we got
you know,
Robin
the
James'
directors
face.
knew. The directors knew. Every guest coming in, like, James would have loved to be.
Yeah.
He would probably
Oh,
love
no,
to
yeah.
be here more than where he is in Europe.
Yeah.
So with Robin James' face as well, that we were doing it, holding it down,
That's
Yeah.
it. James
Other
would also
routines.
be like to be incredibly uncomfortable
just-
at the movie premiere.
I was just eating my gelato in front of the Coliseum, being incredibly
boy.
depressed.
Well, we were saying-
man, I wish
we
I
were
I
was
want to
saying,
go to a movie premiere.
we were saying that poor James is in Europe with his sister.
Oh yeah.
But he'd like to be here, but unfortunately he's in Europe having a good time.
having a holiday.
yeah, it doesn't necessitate a good time.
But you didn't have to get up and go to work on a Monday, so
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's good to have you here for MIFF. So you did miss it.
Well,
This is our
actually,
first-
He technically went to what? Did you go to another session?
No, I was
so-
going to go... Yeah, so I got back on Friday. Saturday, we went and saw Rumors, which is a MIFF movie. And then Sunday was the last day of MIFF. So I was like, oh, I should take advantage of this now that I'm back. But I'm like, I can't afford it,
Yeah.
and I'm tired and jet
and you got
lagged.
screeners.
And then...
He got some movies.
and I think I ended up watching at least 4 of the same movies.
Did you watch
guys
any of
did.
the documentaries?
I was trying to watch Devo, but it didn't work. So I'll talk to you guys
yeah.
after the episode.
Okay.
All right, so I guess we'll start with Flathead.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. Sorry, Nathan.
Oh.
Did you watch Emotion Is Dead yet?
No, I was saving that
Okay.
because I want to watch that properly, and then I want to listen to your
Interview.
I think, yeah,
your
smart,
review and
smart.
your interview.
Yeah.
So
And then you can come back and be like, "You're wrong about all of this."
yeah, I'll be like,
Yeah.
actually, in the
Also,
movie,
for those
I'm
listening
like,
at
we have
home-
to get what's the director's name?
Get him
Pete
back
Williams.
here.
Yeah, get him
We
back.
could
Oh no, I
get him
want
to
to
call
talk
in, maybe.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll do a second.
Yeah.
Now
Well-
that James is here,
Yeah,
every time we do an interview, I say the same thing. Oh, what's that word that I keep thinking of where you start the movie in action? And James is in here, so I don't know it.
oh yeah.
Can you please tell the audience, please,
I
James?
think you're talking about in media res.
I think that's correct.
Yeah, where you just start the scene in the middle of the action.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, James.
Yeah.
all right. Let's start.
Oh,
with,
also, well, I did listen because I left before the Long Legs episode. So the only episode I've listened to so far
was
of
the long legs.
of the one I wasn't here for was Long Legs.
And how wrong were we?
How full of shit are
No,
we?
no, all your criticisms were 100%, but I think you were a bit too kind.
Oh.
Because you were all complaining about it, and I'm like, yes, I agree. Yes, I agree. Yes, Alan.
And then you
said,
watched it.
no, and then you're like 3.5 stars. I'm like, I gave it 2 stars. I'm like, this movie is disappointing.
No, I like that movie because of the tension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has good,
It
it
has
has good, but
threatening vibes.
the more I thought about it, the less I liked it.
I think it's better directed than The Black Coat's Daughter, but I think The Black Coat's Daughter is a better film, if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I like the Black Coat's Daughter a lot more.
And I think they're both set in the same world because,
Yeah,
it's my opinion.
Yeah, you said that. Yeah.
But
But anyway, yeah.
anyway, we're here to talk about MIFF.
Yeah.
All right,
check my letterbox for my
Yes,
long
so-
legs.
Flathead is a new Australian indie film
Mhm.
which came to MIFF this year, and we got the opportunity to watch it. So I guess it's directed by J. Don Martin, and it's about a man who essentially returns to his hometown, and he's ill or has cancer.
So, yeah,
There's some vague illness.
He's an old,
It's not-
he's an elderly man, like 80 years old. He's ill.
and it's not defined what he's kind of sick
Yeah, it
with.
doesn't really matter. I mean, it's inferred he's dying.
Yeah.
Do they say it, straight up say it? But yeah, it's inferred he's dying.
Yep.
He goes back to Bundaberg, which...
And I do like the fact that like a really tiny remote town, Bundaberg. I'm just like,
Well, it's not like
is it-
Sydney or anything.
no,
you know,
but
so-
I mean, is it a small little remote town? When you think of small little remote town, you think like
Yeah.
10 houses and a pub, right?
Yeah.
Not
Because, like, again, being in some of the rural areas nearby, like, they refer to Bundaberg as, like, the big
It's
area.
the big town, yeah.
I'm like, it's Bundaberg, so like the largest, possibly one of the largest beverage, capitals in Australia. Bundaberg,
Yeah.
get on the Bundy. But,
But yeah, it's a rural town, I guess.
yeah. So like it's about Cass, and he's drawn back to his long-forsaken childhood home of Bundaberg, where he finds himself on a spiritual search for redemption.
Mm.
It's all set in black and white, which is lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And I think the black and white really accentuates some of the cinema kind of, the artisty shots.
Yeah,
and
like the mood.
the
It's
framing.
very mood evoking.
Yeah, I think we should also say that it's very documentary like.
It's what do they call it? It's docudrama.
Docudrama. Yeah. So it's like, but there are.
I get the feeling like there's real scenes of
Yeah.
real footage happening, and then there's some narrative scenes.
It seems like a
Yeah.
blend of
Yeah.
like, okay, they were just there shooting, and this
Like
happened.
there's a fight scene in the movie, and I'm wondering myself, I'm like, was that really happening? And they're just like, just let it happen.
That I'm not
Yeah.
sure because it
Yeah.
feels like they were pulling their punches.
You reckon?
Yeah, but
I
also
don't
they
know,
might have
yeah.
just been drunk.
They
and
might
not,
have just been drunk people that cared for each other, but they wanted to fight.
Yeah.
So they pulled their punches.
they're like, "You're my mate, but I'm gonna punch."
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit,
Yeah.
a little bit of a treat.
But what I was saying is because it's got that documentary
Yeah.
style, and then also it's obviously got there's a narrative, and there are actors in the movie. But it looks, because of the black and white and the certain places they go and the lighting, like can be quite striking at times.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, mate.
Yeah.
I really like it. It's not that long of a film. I don't think, is it?
No, it's about 90 minutes, maybe a bit less.
And it reminds me of my favorite movie from MIFF last year, The Maiden, of never getting released fame.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Shout out to Mubi, who told me earlier in the year they were going to release it and just didn't.
They might one day. Who knows?
One day, cows might fly, James. I don't know. Anyway, shout out to Graham Foy. Cool story, bro.
Maybe
Callum's
something-
Callum's
reckon-
entering his resentment phase.
I'm in my hater era.
Yeah, the stages of grief of
Yeah,
the
that's-
Maiden not getting a proper release. Maybe something else happened. Anyway.
Maybe he just decided to make a film and then that's it. I guess it happens.
But that happens a lot.
Yeah,
Some
that's what
movies
I'm
just
saying.
don't get released. We're lucky we saw it. Makes it more special, I guess.
Yeah, but
Callum's like, I just want to see it again.
anyway, hopefully Flathead gets released, inshallah. Anyway, it's I think it's a beautiful film, It has such a cast of what feels to be real people. That's what I like about
Yeah.
this film, is that even though they're actors and it's a script, it feels very genuine to me.
I feel
Like the fish and chip shop characters, they feel so genuine to me and so real.
yeah.
Cass himself feels like a lost soul. And the way it's shot's gorgeous. I even like the documentary stuff where they're just shooting guns. I thought that was interesting. There's a scene where they're doing car racing. Do you know what I'm saying? Even that, I was like, that's so... It feels so real. And obviously, it is real, but it feels so like they found out there was car racing going on. So, get the actors
that's the
there and film
documentary
it.
part of
That's
it,
what I was
yeah.
gonna say. Is I want to see more behind the scenes, because it feels like they were just
They're just
shooting a
hanging out in the
documentary,
town,
hanging
yeah.
out in the town, finding interesting things that are going on, finding interesting people, and then
I like
they wove in this narrative of
I kind of also really like the fish and chips story, like the
Yeah.
family.
yeah.
I was disappointed when he didn't carry on the store, but also I understand the pain. You know what I mean? I guess he probably thought maybe I should start fresh.
It felt like he was only there because of his dad, because he had like his YouTube thing, and he's just like,
the weightlifting thing.
He's
like,
jacked.
and he's like, it felt like he wanted to do other things.
Did you agree with my hipster assertion that it's somewhere between Tarkovsky and Herzog in like the way it feels?
I can see that.
Because when I was watching it, I'm like, I don't know why, but it gave me Storycheck vibes.
Yeah,
it's like the Maiden meets Storycheck.
Because it's just kind of wandering and there's
meandering slice of life. It feels like, even though Storycheck's all fiction, it's like it feels so real because it's not like.
But Herzog has that documentary kind of. He uses real kind of people and locations. It also very tangentially. I remember a while ago you said you watched Nebraska for the first time. That is kind of, I mean, very has some like connection. Black and white.
Nebraska. That's a film I'd watch. Oh my god! Can you imagine that? You like imagine that it's like I won the lottery prize, mate. Like, all right, Dad, get near you. That's a film.
We should make that.
But yeah, I just we were talking before the show about like some of the transitions in this film were gorgeous. Yeah. Some of the editing, like sometimes it was cut to a shot, and I was just like, oh. No, like just a beautiful film. I hope it goes far. Pete Williams is the one who actually told us about this movie.
Oh, really? Cool.
He was like, "Oh, I'm going to go see." Apologies to Pete Williams.
I'm going to go see Flathead if these boys will let me leave.
Yeah.
Oh, is he supposed to? Hopefully, he got there in time.
I feel like we gave him enough time to get there.
No, we didn't.
If he drove like a Melburnian,
he had an 8 p.m. screening of Flathead, and then me being
it was like 20:07. He's trying to leave.
Me being me, I was just like talking to him in the green room.
Here about 7:20,
and then Alan was trying to convince him to film with the Brody Sporting.
Oh, he's gonna do it.
That's not here.
And then he's gonna owe me a credit in the movie.
All of that being said. Pete Williams has great taste because I would recommend Flathead to anyone interested in Australian cinema, which is, to quote Zoolander, so hot right now.
Yeah, but also it's a very human, quiet, just
pensive,
pensive meandering. Like, it's not a traditional narrative, about a guy who goes around and talks. It's just like he just kind of wandering from place to place, and there's this documentary kind of feel of like he goes to a pub and it's like, what's he doing in the pub? He's drinking. Yeah. And like that's it. They're singing karaoke in the back. Okay. And there's some people walking in and out.
Hanging on every scene.
Yeah, and it's just like there's no real story, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But as the movie goes on and he's searching for whatever he's searching for as he's nearing the end of his life and looking back on his, his past life, you do get a sense of like what the movie's about.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the first half I was like, this is good, but the second half I really liked.
Yeah.
Because by the end of it, I was like thinking about so many different things.
That sub-story where he becomes born again.
Yeah.
Was kind of beautiful. In the sense that he's just trying to find meaning. And we all get to the end of our lives, then we all start to worry. You know what I mean?
Our current search for meaning is if they exist in the skies, James.
Yeah, we're
talking about not the man upstairs, but the little green.
That's
the little green man.
That's it.
The greys upstairs.
We need a Flathead where it's us just trying to find out the truth of UFOs.
Yeah,
that'd be a cool film. But
that'd be interesting.
Where's that thing? Where is it in? in
Pine
the Northern
Gap.
Territory in the centre.
Pine Gap?
Pine Gap.
Oh, yeah.
Road trip to Pine Gap, boys. Let's go get shot.
That's good. That's what I was going to say.
I was going to say the CIA thing.
Yeah, US military.
Apparently Geordie's already did that for us.
Yeah, See, this is why the CIA is monitoring our show.
Yeah, good.
Or there's just one guy. Or there's one guy who's like, oh, this one.
If you're listening, Jordan Shanks, come on the show. We have questions.
There's one poor intern at the CIA who's like, damn it, it posted again.
Yeah. Is either one poor guy who's like, oh, great, I have to listen to these idiots, or there's one guy who's like, these guys are pretty good.
We've brought it up before. For listeners who aren't aware, we actually have, according to Spotify, listeners from the city of Ashburn in Washington State, according to Spotify.
Oh, really?
Where it's like where Quantico is. So we are having.
But if it was the government, they wouldn't be posting their data on the...
No. It's having a giggle, but
it's an intern that took their work home. They're like,
we're having a giggle, but
Yeah.
Spotify thinks that Quantico may or may not be listening.
Yeah.
We're
We did record that whole episode about UFOs that got mysteriously disappeared.
True.
So there is something going
That's
on.
it.
Anyway, what were we
we'll
talking
do that
about?
again and make it
Flathead.
double length.
Anyway, I was saying
I
something.
think what's so interesting about it is because it's just about, I don't want to use the word nihilism, but it's about like the boredom of a small town.
Yeah,
the reasons people leave or go to a small town.
I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, the things he's looking for, the meaning of life, like you were saying, and it doesn't tell you any of this. It just shows you what he's doing.
Yeah, and like forming connections with people.
Yeah, talking to people about religion
And how many drugs he did when he was young.
Yeah, and then that's
that
the
was
other.
sad.
That's the other thing is like there are bits where he's just talking to people about his past, and so you get a hint of who
Where
he
he's
used to
come
be
from. Yeah.
and why he feels perhaps guilty. And then there's a reveal at the end of like something really sad that happened to him, and it's just like it informs even more.
Yeah.
Without ever in the whole movie ever just
giving it to you. Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
info dump, you know what I mean?
yeah, or there's no flashback scene,
Yeah.
or there's no it's not. Yeah.
But yeah, fantastic film. Do recommend.
There's a lot of I want to talk to you guys after we finish recording. There's some imagery I want to discuss with you. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. That I think was really interesting to me and that I thought had significance that I wanted to know if you guys agree with. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys about that after.
Very good. All right. Anyone else been watching anything interesting? Alan, have you been watching anything
Well,
interesting?
are we going to finish the MIFF stuff or?
Oh, well,
yeah.
do we have? We've only
We've only got 10
time?
minutes.
We
yeah.
can bang out Matt and Murrow real quick.
Or
Yeah, we can talk
we'll
about
do
Matt.
Matt Mara and then okay.
We can talk about rumors next week, maybe, or see how we.
Yeah, maybe next week we'll do the more.
And then we got the
MIFF.
Demon Disorder and that.
Yeah,
next
I watched Demon
Yeah.
Disorder, Matt and Mara, and
All right. Well, we can talk about
Flathead.
the fart smelling movie.
Yeah, look, I think that what's so interesting.
It's just a movie about people who huff their own farts. Right?
I think that I'm not familiar with the director's previous.
I'm so
work.
confused right now because I haven't seen the movie. Me and my
it's
co-workers have been fighting on each other at work. So.
So it's about two people, one person named Matt, one person named Mara.
And they're both pretentious.
Yeah, so it's about academics. So it's about liberal arts. One is a liberal arts professor who lectures on creative writing and poetry. The other, Mara. The other one is a published author called Matt, who's quite popular in the field. And he unexpectedly comes back into her life and then causes her. They were friends, good friends.
yeah, she's married and has
A son,
a daughter.
daughter. Oh, my bad.
And he just comes back, and they used to be college.
He comes back because his father's sick, and so because he's in town, he reconnects with her, and then it unfolds from there. So what ends up happening is she belongs to a social circle where they have very lofty intellectual discussions about the meaning of whatever. And he's a part of that too. I refer to it as intellectual jousting. This kind of, let's see who can get the upper hand intellectually. But done in a relatively friendly way.
Sounds to me more like intellectual masturbation.
Yeah, basically, that's what it amounts to.
That's
Pretty
why
much.
that's why Nathan was saying smelling their own.
That's what we
farts,
talk about because it's people who they say a lot but they don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
Which is fine. You get that in a lot of Woody Allen movies, for example. That's a trope kind of that he does sometimes.
Yeah,
where
but Woody
you get-
Allen characters are usually much better written.
Well, that's what I was going to say is that if you look at Noah Baumbach does this as well, where you have characters have these types of conversations with each other, but usually it's either to deflect or there's a psychological element where the characters are trying to get the upper hand on each other. Whereas in this film, it feels to me like they're just saying words at each other and they kind of just leave. Whereas I think that if this script had been written by Baumbach or Woody Allen, specifically in Woody Allen's 90s or 80s era, I think it would have been much more effective because the characters in this, they feel to me to be more or less two-dimensional in the fact that they have one problem each, basically. Matt's got his father's issues and his ego. Mara has her troubling friendship with Matt and how that impacts her work life and / social life.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you look at, again, not to keep saying Woody Allen movies, Woody Allen's characters are generally more fleshed out, and it would have focused more on the characters as a whole rather than just Matt and Mara.
Woody Allen and Noah Baumbach are more, their movies are generally more fast-paced, talky.
Yeah.
When you say a Woody Allen movie, you mean whereas this has elements of that in the fact that it's these kind of intellectuals, kind of joust, like verbal jousting, whatever. But it's more of like it is a little slower. It's just a slower. It's a bit funny. It's a dramedy, but it's more just a character drama.
Yeah,
it felt like like early 2010s kind of mumblecore indie drama, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But I think you can compare it to Baumbach and Woody Allen, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's a negative that it's not as good as those because it's not.
Yeah, but no one is.
Yeah.
But what I mean to say is that like this, I feel like the script doesn't have enough weight to it in the ramifications of the events that happen. So like for example, I don't want to spoil it because it hasn't had a wide release. But like there are certain things that happen and certain emotions that are felt in the film. Which it doesn't. It just kind of people get away with things. Yeah, if that makes sense.
I think there's a lack of payoff that I know Callum has told me, like he's very frustrated about, and I completely understand that.
It's not that I'm frustrated about it. I just think that when you have a movie where the core premise is it's a character drama about two people reconnecting after a long period of time, and what happens when those two people reconnect, the ending to me. It felt, I mean, they even show you on screen how it's not that final. I'm like, I think that unless you're going to have a Matt and Mara 2.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you kind of need to close the book. They would call it
Matt and Mara do it, just to be pretentious.
Matt and Mara's with a dollar sign. Mara's, you need to close the book in a more literal sense.
I understand what you're saying, and I definitely felt that as well. But also, part of the uncertainty of the movie is what I liked about it, and it felt quote unquote realistic in a way that a lot of these movies do, where it's like not documentary, but it's got that kind of documentary feeling where it's just people kind of around talking. And
I will say it's very well acted. The characters seem very vulnerable. Like they managed to pull that emotional vulnerability off.
Oh, they're both very, very, very fragile people.
Yeah, that's what I like about it. Also, the scene.
Don't you criticize my poetry?
The scene where where Matt is doing a talk to her students is hilarious. Yeah, and he's 100% correct.
Yeah,
it's just not something you can talk about, at least not to your students.
Yeah.
And also the scene where they're in the church for, I won't spoil it.
Oh, that was good.
Where they have to put the cross on the floor.
Yeah.
Funny. I like that.
Yeah. I think I liked it a bit more than you guys.
I didn't like the pretentiousness. The pretentiousness didn't pay off for me.
Yeah.
Like no one learned anything through the process. That's how I feel.
But that's I mean, I understand what you're saying, but also that's like I was saying with the uncertainty. It was just like the emotional turmoil that came through.
Yeah, it's a nice looking film.
It's more like Mara's movie. It's told more from her point of view. Like that came through her life.
I feel sorry for her husband.
Yeah, that's always the case with any of these movies where it's just like...
That's what I mean when I talk about repercussions, is that like...
It could have... I mean,
we don't know what happens because it doesn't really show... Like, stuff happens, but it doesn't really show every
It's definitely... If it was a different movie or a longer movie, you definitely could go full on, like, here's all the aftermath and here's...
Yeah.
But it's not really
But also, that's kind of real life where sometimes people do just get away with stuff.
That's 100% true. Like, I was thinking, I'm like, the ending, I mean, not to spoil it, the ending of the movie could go either way.
Yeah, and they didn't, I mean, not spoilers, but like nothing extreme happens in the film between any of the characters. It's just more of this situation where everybody feels a bit gross. But then we don't get to see how they resolve that psychologically.
Yeah, and none of the characters are explicitly like horrible people, and none of them are great people, and none of them are like none of them do anything really bad. They just kind of do things that are kind of
shitty.
Shitty
in their own self-interest.
It felt
they don't think of other people.
It felt realistic in a way where it's just it wasn't like, oh, the world's gonna end, or I
Yeah.
caught my wife cheating on me, whatever. It's just kind of this character drama where it's just like
Yeah.
there's an emotional
Roller coaster going on.
not even a roller coaster, it's more just like
Emotional
you're in a
merry-go-round?
bumpy
Yeah.
Bumper cars.
yeah, on a bumpy boat or something.
Yeah. It's just a speed bump.
That's an interesting way to put it. The speed bump of life, like
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't hate it, but like it looked beautiful. That it was well acted.
yeah,
The screenplay was witty. I just think they could have handled. I just think they could have handled the intellectual aspects of the conversations in a much better way. Especially since they're not going to pay it off. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I'm still interested in what the director does next. I think that it's
Yeah,
you know
well,
what I mean?
apparently the movie they did before this, I would be interested in seeing that. It's got the same
Same.
actress who plays Mara
Oh, very good.
as so I'd be interested in seeing that.
Very good. I reckon
Yeah.
that's about all the time we got for tonight, boys.
Yeah.
Keep it on the socials. You know, we've got an interesting, hopefully, touching wood in the studio here. We've got an interesting few weeks ahead of us before PAX starts.
Yeah.
We've sent off some emails, hoping to speak to a few people. You know, maybe have an interview or two before we start our PAX coverage. So it's an interesting time ahead.
Yeah, maybe some more MIFF coverage.
Yeah, definitely some more MIFF coverage.
Yeah.
We still got movies to talk about, but some extra content too on the horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe something a little extraterrestrial. Maybe a little even spooky.
Oh, yeah?
We'll blend them.
Yeah.
If we're lucky.
Well, if that happens, we should probably put on the
Well,
social media and let people
Did
know.
you
Yeah.
hear about Guillermo del Toro's Haunting?
No, you were telling me about
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Spoopy.
Well, we'll keep people aware of it, and we'll post if we can.
Yep.
But keep an eye on the socials. You can catch the Tuesday Review at Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, Newsmast, Blue Sky, and YouTube at Tuesday Review AU on all platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Please like and share all of these pages.
Yep.
And we'll be back.
Especially YouTube. Be
Especially
sure
the YouTube.
to check it out for exclusive YouTube content.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also Letterboxd.
I am Nathan B _90.
I am channeldrifter, or one word.
I think I'm Alan20.
You are Alan 20.
Alan, we forced Alan the other night to update some of his watches, so
I am Callum Tuesday.
yeah.
We'll be back next week. You know, or maybe we might throw out some videos before next week. See how we go.
Keep an eye out.
Keep it on the skies. We'll be back next week. Adios, cousins.